I'm Jake, thank you for the introduction. I help bands and brands through video. So a lot of this is my work. We're gonna show some videos today. I kind of just want to introduce you guys to what exactly I do. Sometimes it's hard to explain because I do a lot of different things. But overall, I'm a videographer, and in many ways, I would say I'm a visual communicator. So oftentimes you might learn English or Spanish to be able to communicate with people who speak English or Spanish, right? And in the same way, creating videos is a way to communicate to people in a visual way. So I tell stories, I communicate messages to companies, and I help tell stories, whether that's capturing a wedding day or capturing a band. That's what I get to do. So I love what I do. I'm excited to share with you guys some of my story, and yeah, let's get to it. So yeah, yo Jake, who are you, my guy? That's a great question, presentation slide. So I'm gonna show you a couple videos, and then you guys can actually kind of get a feel for the type of videos I guess I make. This is one for the cold brew filter company that I work with. So in this video, we made, you guys have seen Coke and Mentos, and you guys might know what happens when you make that combination. So we made a video where you combine like cold brew in this. And so basically, this is a drink you probably don't necessarily want to try. So yeah, please enjoy. So yeah, so that's a video that I made for a cold brew company. And so when you see that, you kind of go, that doesn't look appetizing to me. So that's why you kind of bring humor into the storytelling of videos. So I do videos like that. That's all shot just on my iPhone. But then if you can see back there, that's kind of like my camera rig setup. That's kind of a more professional kind of setup in terms of if I worked with a company that maybe had a higher budget or they didn't want something for social media, you would use more quality within your videos. So I want to show you guys a music video I did for some friends of mine, and they love Jesus and they make really cool music. So I wanted to show you guys a video we made.
I'm done proving things to you. I want my Father for who He is. I run this race at my own pace. I'm not chasing your silhouette. Yeah, swinging at ghosts and goblins. Leave them with you in the past. Yeah, wringing my soul of your toxins. I knew your love wouldn't last. Your love came with conditions, and I had some problems with sin. I waited to bring to attention, cause I knew they'd garner our end. And that's all on me, I'll admit it. Shouldn't have kept it within. I wanted to bring us redemption, but you had moved on like the wind. I'm done proving things to you. I want my Father for who He is. I run this race at my own pace. I'm not chasing your silhouette. Yeah, swinging at ghosts and goblins. Leave them with you in the past. Yeah, wringing my soul of your toxins. I knew your love wouldn't last.
I thank you for breaking my heart. I never thought the pain would end. Who knew these atrium scars would make me better in the end? Gazing at ghosts and goblins, thinking that I'm the problem. They have a better chance at finding romance. I guess I don't follow tradition. See, this is all part of His plan. If I were to see the whole picture, I'd probably just laugh at the thing. And I'm stubborn, yeah, I'll admit it. I'm thankful that God knows the end, cause I never know when to quit it till it has been right from my hand.
I'm done proving things to you. I want my Father for who He is. I run this race at my own pace. I'm not chasing your silhouette. Yeah, swinging that ghost and goblin. Leave them with you in the past. Yeah, ringing my soul of your toxin. I knew your love wouldn't last.
Yeah, so that's a video I got to put together for some friends. Thank you, thank you. Appreciate it. Someone said Scooby-Doo. That's exactly what we were going for, so I'm stoked you said that. But what's fun is like, we get to take something that my friends made, right? They made the song, they have a message to the song. A lot of the song like represents like running from your past, running from just the realities of our sin, and it kind of catching up to us, right? So the ghost kind of represented them being kind of chased by themselves. So what's cool is we get to take the song and create a visual for it to tell even more of a story. And oftentimes like these visuals actually help put their music out there for more people to get to listen to and hear the message. So that's what I love to do. I love to be able to help people tell stories in that sort of way. But again, I'm Jake. I want to kind of share and just open your eyes up to, I guess, what is possible within video and within creativity and stuff like that. Some of you guys came really prepared today with the popcorn because, you know, it's gonna be a presentation, you might want a snack, so you guys are well prepared. This is younger Jake. He's got a basketball in his hand that's bigger than his head. And yeah, that's just a little bit about me. I love basketball. I played all throughout high school. It took a lot of just my time and energy, and I loved like being able to play in high school. And I had a blast with that. But when I realized the reality that I wasn't gonna make it into the NBA, I realized I had to kind of find something else, right? And I was totally okay with not making the NBA, you know, save that for Chris Paul and the other guys. But I had to find something else. What else am I gonna do with my time? So at the same time that I was kind of doing basketball in high school, I was also sort of learning a little bit about video, and I was learning like what goes into making videos. I remember my little cousin at the time, he came over to my house, and we were just looking for something to do, and we had a little Nerf hoop like right on our door. You know, like the Nerf hoops you kind of like play like dunk contests on. So we were just kind of hanging out, and I had my little iPod Touch, so I just started filming us like dunking on the Nerf hoop, like reverse, you know, stuff like that. And then I took the videos and I opened it into a video editing software, and I just started like trying to figure out how do I make videos. And so I learned like how to move us in reverse, how to make the colors black and white, how to add music to it, kind of like the Space Jam feel. Like I just loved the idea of like, wow, I can take something and like either tell a story or present it in sort of a visual, and that was just really fun to me. So I kept learning, I kept making videos all throughout high school. I was looking back at the archives, and I found, I don't even know some of the things I made, but I knew that just making things was gonna help me get better. So this is something random I found. I don't know how to explain it, you just gotta watch. But as you see, sometimes like to get to making a full-on music video, you have to make a music video. I don't know what that was, but that was a video I made.
Can we watch that again?
Yeah. We're really humbling myself today. Yeah. Run it back. Yeah. I think the money isn't even real money. It's like tracks, like to share the gospel. So it was just all in the fun of just making a video. But I fell in love with storytelling and making videos in high school. And so that continued on. I went on a mission trip in 2016. I went to the Dominican Republic, and I got to be a part of like the media team. And what was special about this was I got to kind of tell stories and kind of capture moments throughout the trip with the different ministries that were taking place. And I got to be a contribution to the ministry that we were working with there. So that was really cool. On top of the fact that everything we had experienced on that trip, we got to come home and be able to show some of these videos to our family and friends and students and teachers. And that was really special to me because I didn't necessarily have to explain it. Like I could show a video and that kind of capture the feel and the moments of that. So I really enjoyed just falling in love with the process of making videos. This is 2017. I went to Kenya with Mr. Wilson, and this is us dapping up some monkeys, or dapping up in front of some monkeys, I guess. And I don't know what this is, but I found it, and I thought you guys might enjoy it. Mr. Wilson was really supportive of just like what I was doing, and I remember after our trip, we like met up and we're talking like, you know, let's put together a video and like show our school, and that was really special. Like, again, we had experienced so much, and so being able to kind of bring those stories back home with us, like just showed like how impactful like a video could really be, and being able to even like show that to the organization we were working with, and for them to be able to use it or whatever. So yeah, that's really awesome. Thanks, Mr. Wilson. And at the same time of like kind of this high school period, right, playing basketball, making videos, I was also just really like falling in love with Jesus, like with the fact that my faith was really growing in this time. And I was thinking about like pursuing like, what does it mean to be a pastor? And I was like really involved on campus and just trying to speak and like start a Bible study and things like that. And so I was like, I think this is what I want to do, but at the same time, like I also like making videos. For a lot of it, I wasn't necessarily sure like what path to take, but I realized that I could still have like this passion, this gifting in video, and still be able to like show Jesus in that as well, right? I'm still very involved in my church today, and even though I don't necessarily have a media job in my church, I can still volunteer and serve and use my giftings to help the church. So all that to say is like whatever gifting you have, like you don't have to give that up too. Like you can use that to serve other people, to serve the church, to be of benefit to other people, and God can really use those things. So yeah, I didn't end up pursuing like ministry in terms of like vocational, like for a living, but I still have served in my church ever since. So when I ended up in college, I pursued like a degree in graphic design. So he was sharing, I went to CBU, California Baptist University, and really like I still didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew I loved creativity. I loved creating visuals. That's really all it was. So I just kind of tried a bit of everything. I tried like, here's some underwater like photography. I tried like kind of bringing things together to like, for like marketing. So this was like a fake ad I did for Vans. I love Vans. You can find checkers on me at all times, and if you don't, I'll give you $1. That'll be the game. But I love music. I love like music has impacted me greatly, and so I started documenting like music artists and things like that. So I kind of just tried everything, and my passion kind of grew for music. So then I kept doing that. Here's like concert photography. Again, like I was kind of tapping into a lot of these things that I was just trying and giving it a go. Like a lot of you guys, like there's concerts out there, right? And like tickets cost $20 to $50 or more, depending on like what kind of concert. And I loved just going to concerts. And then I thought, you know, it would be cool to like sort of like document like some of these artists, like they need photos to market themselves. And so I started emailing artists and managers and venues, and somehow they gave me a photo pass to let me into the concert for free. So I'm like, sweet. So I get to do what I love and take concert photos, and I'm like interacting with artists and like fans. And at the same time, I get a free concert out of it. So I'm like, heck yeah. So that was really, really fun for me. That led me into figuring out what was next. So this is my favorite band, King's Kaleidoscope. Is anyone listening to King's Kaleidoscope in here? Got a couple. Really? All right, we'll have to share that with Rocco. But so King's Kaleidoscope's my favorite band, and again, I was trying to figure out what's next. I shot some concerts, and then that led into I want to go on a tour, right? Like tour photographers, they like travel with the band, they like get to be a part of like going show to show. So I was like, that seems really cool. How do I do that? So I started emailing their tour managers and managements, and finally they told me like, oh, sorry, we don't have room on the tour bus, so we can't take you. So I was like, for me, I was going to take that as a no, but after talking with one of my mentors, he was saying, what if you just went anyway? And I was like, well, what do you mean? He's like, well, you know where they're going to be. You know which cities they're going to be at. What if you just followed them on their tour? I was like, that's kind of crazy. That seems like expensive. Like, I don't know anyone that lives in Oklahoma City. Like, how am I going to do this? And he's just like, you'll figure it out. So as soon as I got the go-ahead from the tour manager to get into the shows for free to shoot, I just figured it out. I took the Greyhound bus, which is kind of a cheaper bus, like to go city to city. I've made like friends of friends through my church, like couches to sleep on. I just kind of figured it out, and I went city to city and kind of toured with this band, and I loved it. I loved like being able to kind of like hustle and like kind of figure out, like I didn't know really what I was doing other than like I'm planning on going to each of these shows. And that allowed me to not only build relationship with like some of the people from the band, but fans. Like I have friends in Austin now who like sometimes come to California and we'll get to hang out. And I know people like all over. Like it's just really cool to be able to like kind of use this tool of video and just having a camera in my hand to make friends and build relationships. And this was honestly like the first trip where I really learned like to share the gospel on my own too. Like I remember like a couple of my flights, like just sitting next to someone and they were asking me like, oh, what are you going to Seattle to do? And I'm like, well, I'm shooting a concert. Oh, for what band? King's Kaleidoscope. They're, a Christian like rock band. And so being able to kind of use that as a gateway to share Jesus with people, like I didn't think like I could do it like that, but yeah, there's just so much opportunity in using your gift and being able to bring that back into telling other people about Jesus. And so that's really special to me. Like it's not just a skill set, it's not just like something cool to get to do, but really it's like a tool and it's something that God could really use. And so yeah, these are some of the bands I've been able to work with. King's Kaleidoscope, I just told you about, and then we watched the music video. But really it's just like all about helping these bands sort of market themselves and like put their name out there, and like I'm able to do that through what I get to do. This is some of the brands I get to work with. Alto Cold Brew, that's the one we watched in the beginning. Super 73, have you seen those little like electric bikes? Yeah, they're crazy. I didn't even get to ride one, but I got to edit like a video for them, and they're super cool. So just even seeing what's out there and seeing like ways I can kind of help these brands to put their name out there, super fun. I really want to share about Jeff Govea because Mr. Wilson actually played a huge part in introducing me to him. But back in my senior year of high school, again, not knowing really what I wanted to do, but I was interested in creativity. Jeff came and spoke in a freshman speech class, and I sort of just introduced myself. And that was about it. He walked away, I followed him on Instagram, and that was it. But one day, he posted on Instagram, hey, I need help painting a mural. So he's an artist, he does murals and illustrations, and he's worked for Starbucks and Adidas and all these really cool companies, and I just love his like kooky style of art. And so I just thought like, wow, this guy's like doing it. I don't know how I can like sort of like do a career with what I'm doing, but I know he's doing it, so I think it would be beneficial to learn from him. So he posted, I need help with a mural. And I was like, I have no painting experience. I don't think I would be like much help to him, but I saw the time frame from what he posted, and it was about 15 minutes ago, and I realized like this is my time frame. I'm either going to say yes or say no. And so I decided to message him. I'm like, I'm willing to help. And so he's like, sweet, I'll pick you up tomorrow morning at like 4 a.m. and we're going to head down and like paint this mural. I was like, okay. And I kind of figured I was doing this for the experience. I really didn't know, again, what I was getting myself into. And we show up to the site. Again, he picked me up at 4 a.m. We got to the site maybe 6 a.m. And this is what I did for up until like midnight. I had 6 paint colors, and this is all me. This is like, basically like this wall is smooth right here, but this wall right here is kind of jagged. So like even painting on it is like a little harder because it takes a lot to like seep in the paint. But he just gave me all these colors and was like, just go crazy. And so I painted for like the whole day, this whole wall. Yeah, and I've never woken up like as stiff as I was like the next morning. I literally like could not get out of bed. Like I can't explain the feeling other than I just woke up and I was like, because, you know, working your arms, like painting and stuff. Like I didn't know painting was that much work, but the point being is I took a chance and said, you know, I'm willing to help. And at the same time, like I was just really stoked to be in an environment of creativity. I was just taking the chance to try something new. And so fast forward, I really didn't talk to Jeff too much, but I was in LA with one of my friends and he was painting for an Adidas event. And so it was a free event. They were giving out like free food and free Adidas shirts. I was like, psh, I'll be there. And I happened to have my camera at the time. And so I took a couple photos of him and sent it over. And he offered me a job the next day. Like it's super random, super weird. I don't know how I even drew like interest of him, but he was at the time looking to build a team, and I happened to kind of say yes to a few things of just being willing to show up and put in the work. And he asked if I'd be willing to make videos for him. So yeah, thanks to Chris, because it's crazy just like how God works in small ways. And Jeff has been a huge mentor to me. We've put together so many videos. I could show you like lots of things, but mainly it's all around art. So I just wanted to show you just a couple things of like what working in an art studio looks like, and I guess what Jeff does. So. So that's kind of the fun side to, I guess, like art is like showcasing something in a professional way, right? That was a nice cinematic video, but it's still fun because you get kind of a feel for the studio. But if you get to know Jeff for 5 seconds, he's not always like that. So we had a lot of fun in the studio. Here's a little ad we put together for a Christmas shirt that he was releasing.
What do you got there, kiddo? Marcy is opening presents! Ah! Yes! Ah! What? Oh my God! Yes! Yes! Hold on there, kiddo. Hold on there. Let me get a quick pic on the mobile device. Boom, gotcha. Merry Christmas, kid.
Yeah, so that's Jeff. He's really great. He's seriously like so knowledgeable in like what he does within art, but we also have a lot of fun because kind of using humor as an element to like capture people's attention is just really great, and being able to communicate whatever it is we're trying to do. Another thing I do is called a tiny little interview. And so this is not necessarily working for someone else, but just kind of creating a way to market myself, right? Because I also need to kind of put my work out there for people to be able to see what it is I do so that I can kind of do jobs and be able to work. So I created this little series called Tiny Little Interview. I have a microphone like this big, and it's just a tiny microphone. And so you may have seen it on TikTok or things like that. But basically, I've got this tiny little microphone, and I was like, what could I do with this? Because this is funny, and it would be fun to interact with people. So I decided it would be fun with all these artists I get to meet, with all these brands I get to work with. What if I just like took a couple minutes to interview them? So I created this series called Tiny Little Interview, and it's a way for me to connect with people and kind of ask them questions about what they do for a living and how they kind of use art within whatever field they're in. And so I created this series, and I'll show you kind of how I came up with that. Here's how I created the Tiny Little Interview. I was on my phone scrolling through socials when I saw this.
You like my boom mic?
A tiny microphone? That's hilarious. I had to buy it. It was only $10, so I bought it right away. I knew this would be good for some sort of video series, but I didn't know what. So I opened it up, tested it out, and thought to myself, what could I really use this for? I looked to the dudes who inspired me most and realized I could do the same thing. This led to some good conversations and good laughs from the people around me, which eventually turned into the tiny little interview. I saw a lot of potential in inviting people into these honest conversations, so I decided to turn this into something amazing. My friend Trevor helped me with some illustrations, and my friend Joshua put together some sick beats. I'm doing more interviews and creating a series of content that is really aimed to inspire and uplift other people. Overall, I really do believe in this idea. I hope you see that these people are more than just the work they create, and that you find a way to relate to them in a tiny way.
Yeah.
I'm posting new interviews every week, so make sure to follow me to see who's talking into the tiny mic next.
Some quality content right there.
So that's the tiny little interview. I've been able to kind of connect with some really sweet people within music and stuff, like through just the tiny microphones. $10 on Amazon, and just kind of just this idea that I put together. So all that to say is, like, you can take an idea and really like expand it into something that allows you to meet people, to do a lot of things. So this has really helped to my business and being able to put my work out there. And honestly, like, people that I interview have said some really impactful things that I've stuck onto. And so in those same conversations, I want to be able to share that for other people to learn something new. And so that's a bit about what I do. And I think it's like really easy to, I don't know, get sometimes discouraged when you like meet someone and they're doing like either cool things or whatever. Like, I've been in that position so many times. And like, especially like, I remember being in middle school and like, I really don't know like what I want to do in the future. I don't know like what my interests are. And so like, it's been a long journey of like kind of figuring out like, what do I enjoy? What do I like doing? What are my gifts? What are my talents? Like, that can be like a hard journey. And it hasn't been just in a day. It's been a long journey for me. So even what I share with you today is, it doesn't happen overnight. So I don't want you to get discouraged. I want you, to really just think about like what is, or what could be your what and your why. And this has really helped me to kind of like think about, I guess, even the purpose in the work and what I do. So let's start with your what. Your what can often change. Right now you guys are students, right? Some of you maybe play sports. Some of you, I don't know, do a lot of different things. What do you guys like to do? Like, I want to hear from you guys. Cool. How about popcorn, man? What do you like to do? Eat popcorn?
Yeah, I eat popcorn.
Eat popcorn? Awesome.
I play soccer.
Sweet.
Oh yeah, I do a lot of sneakers, and I
Nice.
I post TikToks about shoes and stuff.
Sweet. Awesome. That's awesome. So yeah, that's a great example, right? You play soccer. You sell sneakers or make them, or what do you?
I've been trying to get into like designing clothing.
Awesome.
But yeah, for now it's just buying, selling sneakers sometimes too.
Yeah, that's super cool. So you found like something, right? Like sneakers, like that can be your what. But sometimes that can change, right? Like, let's say, and maybe this isn't you, but like maybe you want to start focusing on soccer more than sneakers. Like, your what can often change, right? Like, some of you guys are not, or most of you guys are not going to be students forever. You will go on to have a job and to be doing something else later on. So what's important to understand is like, your what can often change. For me, it was basketball, but then it transitioned into like, maybe it's ministry, and now I make videos full time. So my what has changed throughout my journey of figuring out, I guess, what that is. So right now it's videography. But my why is something like that has been a trajectory that honestly has never changed. Like, for me, when I found purpose in my life, it was coming to understand like who Jesus is, right? And I believe like a lot of my mission and a lot of my purpose is to know God and to make him known. And like, the rest are just details. The rest are just figuring out like ways to do that. And so that has honestly like changed my life in so many ways. So for me, my why is always going to stay the same, even if my what changes, right? And so I think for me, is like, I see these as like kind of two trajectories of like figuring out like, what are these things? What do I want to do with my life? But figuring out like ways to incorporate both of those things together, like that's a sweet spot. but it doesn't just happen overnight. It takes a journey. It takes like you trusting in God to figure out like, all right, God, like what do you have in store for me? Like what do you want to do with my life? How can I glorify you in my talents and my giftings through sneakers, through soccer, through whatever it is, through eating popcorn? I don't know. I'm sure there's a way to glorify God through popcorn. I truly believe that. But that has been kind of like a helpful example for me in terms of figuring out like what it is I want to do and how I want to make an impact. But with social media and creativity and video, right, a lot of what I've come to understand is it boils down to like there's a lot of influence involved in those things. So these are kind of two main ideas I kind of want to touch on today is what is influencing you and what are you influencing? Because that's just the reality is we are constantly being influenced, and how are we supposed to use where we're at to influence others? And so when I found out I was speaking to middle schoolers today, I was thinking about my life as a middle schooler. This is young Jake. Jake had a flat bill hat that barely stayed on his head. He was, whatever reason, wanted to grow his hair out like Justin Bieber. He had a squeaky voice, and he was the shortest kid in the class. Like I'm telling you, even the girls were taller than me. Like I was just like, yep, this was young Jake. And the cargo shorts were the thing because my friends were rocking the cargo shorts. So I'm like, of course. So when I look at a picture like this, I think, wow, I was so easily influenced by my friends, by what was happening around me. Even the fact that I'm wearing a Nike t-shirt was just because I loved basketball and I was trying to rock the brands that were cool within basketball. So when I think of young Jake, I think of how easily influenced he was. And that's important to recognize because that came to even the way I came to know like Jesus and to really honestly like treat Jesus not as just like God and someone who, yeah, I go to church and yeah, I go to Christian school, but someone who like I have a relationship with and I pray to and I talk to and I trust in. And so a big thing for me was music. Music was something that so easily influenced me. That's why I say like music has impacted me in such a great way. But it's also impacted me in a negative way. When I was in middle school, I won an iPod Touch from Cartoon Network from like a contest. So I'm like, heck yeah, stoked on my iPod Touch. And I was starting to get into music, and a lot of it was just like influencing me in a negative way. I started listening to just music that was like really like bringing me to just like cuss around my friends or like to really like think poorly of certain things and to really think about honestly more like sin than of Jesus. And I realized like this is not only something I'm listening to, but something that's really affecting me through the way I talk and the way I interact with my friends. And so my friends were influencing my music taste, and my music tastes were honestly influencing like my worldview and what I thought of things. And so that was huge for me. So finally I go to just a high school camp, like a church camp, and I just went honestly more for like a social thing than anything. Like I wanted to play camp games, and it was just something I did, like something my parents signed me up for. But God really did a work in my heart, and I realized like, shoot, this is like a relationship. This isn't just something you do, it's a relationship. It goes both ways. Like God came down to impact me in such a great way. Like I have been impacted greatly because of what he's done for me. So it's something I want to have in my life. So a big thing for me coming back from that camp was realizing, wow, if music is impacting me in such a negative way, I need to give this up. So me in middle school, I downloaded all of my music illegally. Like it was like not the way to do it. We didn't have Spotify and Apple Music back then. And so you would pay for your music, right? So I was just kind of like doing my thing. And so when I came back from camp, I realized like, oh wow, this is something I need to give up because it's influencing me so negatively. So I gave it all up, and that's when I really started pursuing like Christian hip hop. Like that's something I began to really enjoy and realize that it took a while for me to get there because I thought it was kind of cheesy at first, but I realized that if I listen to this music, it is not only influencing me in a positive way, but like many of these artists are allowing me to learn scripture and to really teach me a lot of things about life. And so I realized like, wow, this music change is now affecting me in a positive way. So thinking about influence in the way like the music you listen to, the movies you watch, the friends you hang out with, like are influencing you. like either in a positive or negative light. So I think that's just important to like really think about, especially in this age of like social media and influencer culture and things like that. So let's take Biebs for example. Biebs, right? When he releases like a new album, right? Peaches, I got my peaches out in Georgia. I was just in Atlanta, so we kept singing that song. But when Justin releases like an album, what do people do? People listen to the album. People buy concert tickets. People buy merch. They look up to Justin because of his following, because of just his status in pop culture. So oftentimes, like things he says are like really influencing us, and that could either be in a positive or negative light. But it's just important to recognize that, like, wow, we are being influenced by other people. Another guy, Mr. Beast. You guys watch Mr. Beast? Yeah? What does Mr. Beast do? Go for it.
Does challenges and gives away money.
That's right. He gives away what? Islands and cars and like crazy, right? And he has sort of like this influence, like people love Mr. Beast because like they want a free car or like they want to watch people like win stuff. And so it's crazy just to like look at people like this and be like, wow, like they have such an influence on even being able to like change people's life through like giving them a car or something like that. So again, I just bring this up to be like, there's this influencer culture, I guess, we're living in. And it's just really important to recognize that we're being influenced through the things that we pay attention to. But I think influence is something that we might have wrong, right? We might think that you have to be someone like Mr. Beast and have 20 million subscribers on YouTube, or you have to be like Justin Bieber and sell out arenas to have an influence on people. Like, that's not necessarily true. Like, even just looking up just the simple definition of influence, right? The capacity to have an effect on the character, development, or behavior of someone or something, or the effect itself. So just thinking about like your friends, right? Your friends can influence you, and they don't have, some of your friends don't have like 10 million Instagram followers or whatever, right? But the conversations you guys have, the things you guys talk about, those are influencing you, and those are allowing you to think and have conversations that honestly sometimes lead to the decisions you make, the way you think. And so that's just really important to recognize. So I just wanted to kind of talk about influence and what kind of influence are you making in your life? Like, what is influencing you? And that's really only something you guys can answer. But thinking about what you're being influenced by, like how are you influencing, or what are you influencing in your own life? So just thinking about like negative views of influence, right? Like oftentimes it's like doing things like only for yourself, like thinking about yourself like more than other people, like bringing down others, whether that's the way you talk or doing things for status, right? Doing things for Instagram followers or views on TikTok or whatever that is. Misinforming other people, being uninviting. These could be just like negative ways to like bring other people down and to influence them, to maybe feel insecure or just like feel put down. And that's just not what we want to do when we think of the way we influence people. Like thinking of like positive ways to influence people, like loving and serving other people. If we want to think of someone who like influenced people well, like the best example we got is Jesus in the Bible, right? And so he is someone that like served people well. And I think that's a way that I want to use my influence in video. That's the way I want to use my influence in my friends, in the way that I talk to people. I want to uplift people and give people value. I want to educate people and entertain people in a positive light through the things I create, through the stories I tell. And yeah, I've been thinking a lot on influence, and not too long ago, I asked a friend, what is something you don't like about me? And I feel like that's a loaded question because that could come in so many different ways. But I realized like this was a friend who was very honest with me and someone who's gonna just tell me straight. And so one thing he told me is, you are like a sponge. You typically surround yourself with older, wiser people who influence you in a good light. But he also pointed out that I can be selfish in the way that I don't also pour out the wisdom that has been given to me. I don't bestow the wisdom that I've received. So how selfish it is for me to just hold that to myself. So when I think of influence, I think of being like a sponge, right? Like a sponge absorbs, a sponge takes in certain things. So if that's wisdom, if that's knowledge, if that's creativity, whatever that is. And so I want to be like a sponge and absorb these things, But how selfish would it be for me to just kind of hide away and keep that to myself? Like, I want to be someone that also bestows wisdom and knowledge and love and things that have been given to me in a positive light. So be a sponge. Like, when you think of influence, be like a sponge and do things for other people, honestly. So when we think about influence, I want to give you some tools that I think would be helpful in terms of creating a positive influence to other people. And so one of them is just making friends. Like, a good place to start is just like in this room, right? Like, we're all hanging out after this or whatever we do if we're playing, like playing games or whatever. Think about your friends. Like, if your friends are influencing you, like, you can also influence your friends in a positive light as well. And so I got these kooky dudes to kind of illustrate that. But I think like friendships and being in community are such great ways to influence people in a positive light. And so like even for me, that's through my church community. I'm involved in a small group, and these people are people who have like given me a lot of wisdom and helped me in a lot of areas of my life grow. And so I want to be like that and influence my friends in a positive light. Another is just serving people well. Again, just putting others before yourself, like that is like all about influence in a positive light. And so like when I think of the reason I serve people, like I realize that a lot of my life isn't about me. It really is about, again, knowing God and making him known. And so I think of this idea of ceaseless praise, of constantly everything I do being about praising God, through the way I interact with a client, to the output of the video I make, to even coming home and interacting with my family. Like, I only want it to be like praise unto the Lord. There's this great song. It comes from a hymn, but King's Kaleidoscope did a rendition of it. But this has been just like super helpful for me in my life. And it's just a hymn of praise. Take my life and let it be for my King. Take my moments and my days, ceaseless praise. Take my heart, it is your own royal throne. Take my voice and let me sing for my King. And it goes on. And it's just this, just a reminder that it's not about me. It's not about the cool things I do. It really isn't even about like the clients and the work I get. Like, it really, my life is meant to be of praise unto the Lord. And so when I think of serving people, like it boils down to that. Like, I have been changed so much through my life that I want other people to experience this change too. And that's because of the gospel that has so changed me. And so even when I think of storytelling and when I think of like what it means to be a Christ follower, the way I communicate those things is so important too. And so like this is just a simple way to like think of the gospel like in 6 points. It's the bad news and the good news. Like, the bad news is the heavy weight of the reality of my sin and what my life would be like without Jesus. But when I think of the good news, like you have to understand the bad news to understand the weight of what Jesus did for us. And to me, the way to communicate those sort of things like is really important. And so this is kind of just a layout of the gospel and something like I think of when I go and share the gospel. 6 points. We often think it has to be dragged out or it has to be a sermon. Like, it really can be as simple as just a short conversation with people. So another way to influence people is to be authentic. If you're not doing things with like an authentic heart, it's not going to come across like you really like mean what you're saying too, especially when you're sharing like the gospel. But being authentic with people is super important. If you're kooky like Jeff and you can't help but scream and like be goofy, like, hey, like, power to you. Like, you got to be authentic in whatever it is you're doing. And I think like for the Christian, like we should be the most confident people in the room because ultimately we have nothing to lose. And I think there's such a freedom to that. So there's a verse in Philippians. I think I spelled Philippians right. I had to double check before I wrote that down. But to me, Paul is saying to live is Christ and to die is gain. Like, we really have nothing to lose as a believer. Sometimes it's easy to get caught up in like what other people think. Like, is this good enough for me? Sometimes it's like, am I going to be able to like make a living doing what I'm doing? But really, Like I have this confidence because of what Jesus has done for me, and that helps me to want to even influence people in a positive light. So being authentic and understanding like it's okay to be discouraged, like just got to keep going because we have this confidence through Jesus. Another way is be creative. An easy way to influence people is to find creative ways to communicate certain things. And so storytelling is huge, right? Learn to tell stories, and a good way to do that is by sharing your story, right? I didn't know my man over here, he likes sneakers. Like that's super cool. I'm sure there's more of a story to that I'd love to like get to know. But being able to like share these things and telling a story through that like allows you to influence people in a positive light. So let's take this circle, right? If you look at this image, it's just a circle, but finding creative ways to tell a story is like the possibilities are endless. It really just takes sometimes practice. So let's look at the circle as what? A face. Like if you draw some glasses and a mustache, it's not a circle anymore. Like it is now a face. Or how about drawing something like this? It's now like the earth, right? Let's keep going. We have a tire. Like the possibilities really are endless. And of course, my favorite, a waffle. And so like learning to tell stories is really important and a good way to influence people in a creative light. And so I would like encourage you guys, like if it's not video, there's so many creative ways to be able to connect with people. TikTok is one, sports is another. Even just like life as a student, you guys have interests and hobbies and so many things. I believe God has gifted each one of you with different talents. And so whatever it is, find creative ways to use that to influence people in a positive light. And another is just to keep showing up. Like again, it's easily to be discouraged. Like, I don't know what the thing is. I don't know what my giftings and talents are. And that's okay. I think part of it is just like the discipline of showing up. We had this saying in our art studio that's show up tomorrow. And it's basically this idea that, man, things might go bad today. A client might say something we don't agree with. Things might just like not be great as we show up to work. But we still have a work day tomorrow. We still have a school day tomorrow. We still have a practice to go to, and we still have to show up and put in the work. So it's easy to get discouraged, but the act of being disciplined to just keep showing up, sometimes that's half the battle. I remember just like during COVID, I was leading a group of high schoolers, and there's many times where it was just a discouraging season, and sometimes I just like didn't want to be a part of it. But half the battle was showing up for me. Half the battle was just saying, you know what, it's going to be worth it to interact with these high schoolers and to check in and see how we're doing. And that was probably some of the most fruitful times during this kind of season. And so again, you might be discouraged, but half of it is just showing up. So don't be too hard on yourself is kind of the gist of what I was trying to communicate. So those are kind of 5 tips, 5 things I came up with. But I think ultimately it's important to understand like you guys have an influence. Some of you guys are 6th graders or 7th graders, but eventually you guys are going to be 8th graders. Right now, there might be people in your life that you look up to, and that's great. They probably have an influence on you, and like that can be in a positive or negative light. But eventually, you guys are going to be 8th graders, and you guys will be the people that the 6th and 7th graders look up to. And I think that's important to like recognize that you guys also have an influence, whether you realize it or not. When I was a senior in high school, I think that was just a reality for me is I made it to senior year, and there's no one else necessarily to look up to. Like I am the person that people are looking up to now. And that's not necessarily a choice. That is just the reality that, oh wow, like the way I act, the way I talk, like people are watching and noticing, and that's having an influence on people. And so thinking in that light, like understand like you guys have a responsibility for your actions, for the way you talk, for what you guys do, and that is going to show to other people. So influence can be used in a negative light or a positive light, and that's really ultimately up to you guys. And so I would think that you guys would want to impact people in a positive way. And so that's kind of why I even want to bring this up is that within creativity, within the space of social media and making videos, like it's just easy to get wrapped up in what's cool, what's trending, what's out there, but like ask yourself, like, why am I doing this? Why am I making videos? Why am I choosing to show up to soccer practice? Like those are the questions to ask yourself. So yeah, I hope that was like helpful to you guys. I hope you guys like enjoyed seeing, I guess, what's out there in creativity. I have friends who are photographers and painters, and I'm in this kind of creative space, but the creative space is not the only space. And so I just kind of wanted to introduce you guys to like what's out there. But